Well, how you doing? Welcome to another exciting episode of Hibachi Talk. Won't you grab a towel, grab a chair, grab a libation, and come on down and join us for another enlightening conversation today. It's going to be a little bit different format today. Andrew, the security guy, is off gallivanting around the world at some security conference, so he's going to be there and then come back with some words of wisdom from what he's gleaned from that wonderful time. But I'm Gordo the Tekzar, and joining me today is the ever so popular and ever so young Kelly Ueoka from Kawaii Boy. You might recognize him. He's been on the show before as one of our guests. And we're gonna continue on with the conversation we've been having about the tech industry and what it's been doing to itself, I will say, over the past number of decades. And then Angus will be here. He'll do his regular Gadget update. We'll see what he's doing in that wonderful world. And we'll talk about some other interesting things that have happened in the tech news side actually this week. So it's going to be kind of a neat conversation. So, but Kelly, getting back to your background. Oh, by the way, Kelly is now the new president of Pacxa. So congratulations, young man. That's very nicely done.
Thank you, boss.
You may be the youngest president for one of the largest companies in the state of Hawaii.
I really appreciate it, Tekzar. Thank you very much. You know, it's been a real privilege to learn from you, and
well, we try. We try.
Learning a lot from Mr.
Okay,
Bruce.
Okay, enough sucking up. That's it. You got the job already. So that's it.
You know,
But no, thank you very much. It's very nice.
Thank
I see that. So anyway, so let's go back a little bit on your background. I know we talked about it in the earlier shows, but so you grew up in the tech industry.
Yeah. I mean, I've had no other desire to do anything else ever since I was a kid.
Right.
You know, I mean, it started, to be quite honest, with playing video games.
Okay.
You know?
What,
video
Pong?
games.
Oh, that was my generation.
That was probably before my time, but I did see, I got to touch Pong. It was in a museum.
No,
I'm not joking.
No, you're
I'm not.
You really got a guy.
Atari, right? I mean, so I got my start there, and then I remember my first computer was a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it.
I do remember that. I had a Trash 80 before that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And so ever since then, you know, just really wanted to go into technology. I mean, just like kind of like you, right?
Oh yeah, it's from the get-go, pretty
Yeah.
well right out of school,
Yeah.
and stayed with it for, 40 years. It'll be interesting to see what conversation you'll be having on the 40th anniversary of Hibachi Talk as you're the host.
Absolutely.
And you're the host, how it's
Absolutely.
transitioned over
Yeah.
the decades. Yeah. So, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's like how it really has transitioned from the decades. Now, when you first got into this, was it servers or just desktops? Were the mainframes still around? What was happening when you came in?
Yeah, I mean, I got to work with mainframe technology because it was still prevalent when I got in. But you know, when I first started, it was the dawn of the client server, right? So we had these PCs, Banyan Vines for networking. Believe it or not, I mean, this is like predating TCP/IP, predating the OSI model, and
Open systems.
Open systems interconnect, yeah,
Right.
sure. And you know, the 7 layers there. It was just getting into client server. I think I talked about that the last time I was here. But so yeah, that's where I started. I got to touch everything, you know, the network. It was so early, you know. I mean, it's so early in standardization.
So back then, the power was really at the desktop.
Yep.
The desktop was the desktop was coming in. The user was picking up the desktop. They were becoming less dependent on.
Yep.
In my case, it was the mainframe or System 38s, 36s, AS400s.
Yep.
That kind of those kinds of technologies, and they were able to do things on their own.
Yeah, sure.
Like Excel.
Absolutely.
Word.
So yeah, it did go full circle, right? I mean, we started from the green screen terminal. They were just dumb terminals.
Which
right?
was
Cheap.
cloud.
Yeah.
It was a version of
cloud.
cloud.
It was a version of cloud. Mainframe, backend, right? Big horsepower, million lines of COBOL.
Right.
And then, you know, supposedly because the networking got so it evolved, right? So we went to this client-server model, and then people talked about virtual desktop infrastructure where the clients actually became dumb terminals, right? And
which went back to so we started at dumb terminals.
Yeah.
And then we evolved to the brains on the desktop, then back to dumb terminals.
Correct.
And now it's kind of a blend of both.
It's a blend of both now. So we have these clients, these great devices like the Microsoft Surface that just, you know, that's your gateway into cloud services, right? So Office 365, I mean, all your apps now can be hosted elsewhere.
So what do you think caused this shift to happen? You know, what are the things that you have witnessed that caused us to go through this circle? right from the dumbness to the smartness, and then to
Back to the dumbness.
I don't know if it's the dumbness, but yeah, I'll call it the super smartness.
Yeah.
So what do you think was the catalyst to some of these things?
I truly believe it was the evolution in network technology, and speeds and feeds just getting so ridiculously fast that the perception that the end users have now, they don't know, right, where the services are hosted.
True.
I mean, believe it or not, we've been using cloud services since Yahoo, right, Google, Hotmail. I mean, that has been around for 20 years.
Right.
And, before it was like, oh gosh, it's so slow, right?
Right.
But now, networking, I mean, it's just getting so much better. It's evolved exponentially. So the experience is pretty ubiquitous from any device, right? I can have anything on my desk.
Right.
Right. And I can access the same services.
And so thinking back, like you said, when email system that was brought in the 80s, SysM ran on the mainframe, but it was local, didn't go outside.
Yep.
There was no quote unquote access to the internet at that
Sure.
point in time.
Yep.
But then when the access to the internet came about, that's when all of a sudden this opportunity exploded.
Exploded, and now we're finally getting there, right? So I think Cisco, IDC, they predict some odd 40 billion devices connected in the next 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. Yeah, I think 97% of all Americans now have a mobile device of some kind. So
absolutely.
I mean, so it doesn't matter even where you are within the economic ladder. You're sitting and holding and have access of some kind.
Absolutely, and you're doing it the right way. So you have a device that's a little bit thicker in the surface that doubles as a tablet.
Yeah, and we don't mean thickness in the size.
Oh
of
no
it.
no. I mean in the software that's packed in there.
Right.
The experience it's a good experience.
Right. You're getting more graphical interfaces,
Yeah.
more things that we understand.
Yeah,
especially me understand.
Well,
when I open these things.
You're pretty good, boss. But out there, the consumer, right? I mean, IT has been consumerized. I mean, the kids have iPads. I mean, I watch my younger sister, 10 years younger than me, talk to 25 different people, right, in 2 minutes, while I'm still trying to finish my first email in the morning, right? I mean, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? So it's just exploding.
So the internet of everything. So
exactly.
Now, what does this cause the vendors to do? I mean, let's talk about now the IBMs, the Oracles, the Microsofts, all of those kinds of organizations that have now been sitting on big iron, or selling product, selling applications or hardware or software or systems. Now what's happening with them?
So one of the big opportunities on the infrastructure side, so like you mentioned, the servers, right, the networking and the storage, it's becoming pre-engineered by these vendors. It kind of obsoletes a guy like me on the technical, where I came from. I grew up.
Imagine how I feel, because I started in the technical thing.
but you have more, right? You understand. I mean, it's 40 years, right? So you've seen, I think you've seen it all, right?
So, well,
I haven't seen everything, but so on the infrastructure, it's coming pre-engineered, from these vendors. And Oracle was one of the pioneers with that after they acquired Sun. So they started building their own hardware, shipping them to the customer. It's all wizard driven, right? And we're up and running in hours.
In hours, yeah. So that's a good point. So you think here's Oracle, who had a software platform, but didn't have a hardware platform. Sun was their partner of choice, and then over time they became part of Oracle.
They acquired Sun.
And then they engineered a system.
And now everybody's trying to get into that.
So now let's take a look at IBM on a parallel to that, because I always put Oracle and IBM kind of in the same time. So IBM were in the iron business. They were in the mainframes were there. And it's not your father's mainframe now, as I say. And they went through the varied mid-range systems, System 38, 36, all of those kinds of things. But what they didn't do that I saw was they didn't go and find that software application that was their bundled piece, right? Didn't see an IBM ERP.
Right, correct.
I didn't see, they then partnered with all the other software providers to run on their particular platform.
Yes.
Kind of like Microsoft.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Apple kind of was like mini Oracle, we'll call them, and then you've got what IBM did.
And so what Microsoft, the difference between those two in particular is that Microsoft owns the operating system. Right. So you got to have, if IBM wanted to, I mean, there's certainly options. Right. But Windows, I mean, it's so commonplace, right?
But I remember a lawsuit. Now, this again is before your time, but I remember there was a lawsuit. There was a company called Amdahl who wanted to produce a mainframe, who did produce a mainframe. But their biggest problem was the operating system. And the lawsuit went on for a long time. IBM lost and had to relinquish their operating system to Amdahl so that they could then compete with IBM in that hardware space.
Yeah.
Again, we're back to competing in the box
Right,
space.
and that's so I think that's gonna slowly start to evolve into something else. Microsoft, the big vendors are adopting this leased model for software. Office 365 pay as you go. Now you can do that for servers too in their cloud.
Right.
IBM, same thing. Bluemix is their cloud, so you can do that. Oracle has a SaaS model. They have an infrastructure model, software as a service for SaaS infrastructure model, and it's all hosted with them.
So it's just a fascinating, and that's happened in what? This cloud thing is like
Man, it's just
5 years, 10 years?
probably for infrastructure, yeah, I'd say 5, 6.
5, 6 years. So here we've taken this opportunity now and given it to the consumer to go now and make a decision on what it is they want.
Yep.
They don't have to make these huge investments in infrastructure, in servers and things like that. They can go, and it's like your electric bill, pay as you go. Just pay along, and you can turn on what you want to turn on and just pay for what you turn on.
Absolutely. So it really reduces and mitigates risk for overspending, right? On big iron, I mean, you can really pay as you go, consume only what you use at that time. I mean, it's getting really cost effective to do it that way.
But think of what it does to companies that companies were in that business. Like whether you be a Pacxa or whether you be an Oracle or any of the players out there. Now you're the one that was first of all selling this big box or boxes and taking your margins off the top, and then the client was taking all the risk. Right? They'd pay you 70% up front. Yay, we'd all run around the office, high-fiving each other, going out for coffee. Meanwhile, the client's going, oh my God, what have I just acquired? And I hope they delivered on time.
Right.
So now we've taken that, we've pushed that away from us. Now we have to change the way we operate.
And I think we are. We're definitely assuming some of the risk, right? And we have the expertise to deliver and offer the customer something that works for them.
Yeah, and I'm thinking now, like we'll think of let's take Oracle for example. Now Oracle were die-hard, software as a service, on box, that's it. And then what's happened in the past couple of years?
So they're the ones, like I said, paved the way with the engineered systems, right? So they baked in their software proprietary in this hardware platform that you can only get from them. Database, right? Oracle is well known for the database software, and you can only get it from them. It's prepackaged, pre-built. They ship it to you, plug it in, you're ready to go. But something that they've just started to do, something that I announced at Open World last year, was that now you can get database as a service delivered from their cloud. You can get infrastructure as a service delivered from their cloud. Also, you can get apps delivered from their cloud. So, enterprise resource planning applications, financials, human resource capital management, right out of the cloud.
Right out of the cloud. So this is an interesting thing. So they have now moved to the cloud because it's a matter of survival. And they're a mega billion-dollar company that have been around for some time, have built great product, but they've had to make their big change. And what's interesting is one of the numbers I was looking at, the cloud business right now is about a $40 billion a year business. In 2020, it's going to be a $240 billion a year business, but that's not additive. That means the existing 200 billion will change from what it is today to cloud offerings. And so anyone that's stuck in that and I'll continue to just flip and sell boxes to some client are going to fall by the wayside. It just isn't going to. It's not going to work anymore.
Absolutely, and I think we've been ahead of the curve here. I mean, we're following suit from Microsoft and Oracle and everybody deciding to get in, and we're partnering. We're building the expertise here locally. So again, we were ahead of the curve on in terms of VAR.
In terms of VAR, and value-added resellers and so on.
Hardware resale.
And shifting from being a box mover to a service provider.
Service provider, exactly.
And systems integrator.
Absolutely,
yes, sir. Well, it's that time. I've got water in me, and I've got to head off, or I got a libation in me. I got to head off. We got to take a little short break, and we'll be back. And Angus is going to join us with his latest tech upgrade.
All right.
Aloha, Yappers, and a Happy New Year. I'm your host, King Zilly. From inner city out to the platform and now the Yap Show. It's a new year, and most would say a new beginning. So this is a call to action. As we promote tech, energy, diversification, and globalism, with ThinkTech Hawaii, the Yap Show is all about advocacy for effective leadership, comprehensive youth policies, programs, and access to knowledge and information for upward social mobility, especially for the historically underprivileged youth. This means we'll be looking at young people making a difference in their community. Youth policies here in Hawaii, the country, and the world. We want to highlight youth programs that are meeting young people where they are, working together to accomplish a goal or tackle an issue while providing information and access to free educational content for anybody looking to learn on their own time, study for an exam, or simply refresh their memory. We do this by inviting everyday people like yourself, state policymakers, youth advocacy groups, youth programs, professionals, and so forth. But most importantly, we'll be partnering up with my new organization, causeeffect.org. More information on Cause Effect, as this website is currently in development in hopes to feature courses, seminars, tutorials, and conducting surveys that will be featured on the show. As we leave behind 2014, I wish I could say we leave behind issues such as police brutality, youth violence, education, economic mobility, and so many other hot-button topics that made 2014 a difficult year. So what does it mean for the new year? What does it mean for youth policy? What does it mean for Hawaii as a whole? And most importantly, how does it affect you and your community? We want you to tune into the YAP show at 3 p.m. Friday and find out. Aloha.
Hey, how you doing? It's Angus. We're here again today, enjoying myself with the fellas, and it's great to be here today. Kelly, you know Kelly, that's a very great name, you know, it's rather British. You sure you're not Scottish lad? You could be.
No.
You sure?
Japanese.
Oh, okay, you sure? Hey, how's it? Nice to meet you, young lad. Anyway, they're always giving me a hard time about my Google Glass and not me being local tech. Well, guess what? I got an update for you today. But first, I got to tell you, we got viewers. And my long-lost cousin, my long-lost uncle, Hamish No Tech. He reached out to me over the internet. There he is. There is Hamish. Oh, we tears in my eye to see that one. Anyway, Hamish reached out to me. I don't know if you see that oogly eye he got that looks off to the side. That one oogly eye. You ever watch Lord of the Rings? That's the eye. That's how I'm plugging into it. Anyway, Hamish, so nice to see you, young lad. Keep in touch now. I'll find you on the internet. Well, you don't have any tech. Anyway, I'll write you a letter. Okay, coming update now. Bye, Hamish. Anyway, coming update now. See my new, last month, whenever, I brought my Microsoft band, and I showed everybody what a cool piece of technology this band was. Just awesome. Well, guess what? Upgrade City. They brought in an upgrade, and now I can do typing on the band. So now I get my messages, and I can type back. I get my wee fingers and touch the buttons on it, and it just sends back messages. It even listens to my voice. Now, the problem is it doesn't understand Scottish, so I have to talk like I'm an English person, but I can make it work that way too. Anyway, I talk like that, and off it goes. Anyway, it got voice recognition, it has the keyboard now, and it does the health band update, it tracks my updates and puts it up on the internet, and also it tracks me bicycle rides. So it's just a terrific new upgrade. So I encourage you, you can only get these at the store, so you got to go down to the Microsoft store and put one on order. I went down to get one the other day there, and guess what? Back ordered. So I had to put one in. Anyway, this is my update for the day. Enjoyed talking to you again, and we will see you next week. Aloha!
Terrific.
How you doing?
Terrific meeting.
We never know what Angus is going to do next. I know. So anyway, let's follow up on where we left off.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how the industry has changed and so on. But I want to talk about a new change in the industry, and that's what's happened in communications. And we just talked about that earlier on. So yesterday, February 26th, was it yesterday or the day before? FCC new ruling.
Yep.
New ruling on net neutrality. Mm-hmm. So the net neutrality rule came out, and people are all over the page on this. Yep. And so the net neutrality, the definition of it, or the intent of it when they brought it out was, it was going to level the playing field, that like a Netflix couldn't go to a Comcast and negotiate a different speed and get, and be able to get better throttling and better things like that. Right. So they would keep it all net neutral. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not all convinced that it's just what it's being said in the press or in the FCC, and Obama's, he's had his input into it. Now, interesting, the vote came down 3-2, 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. Yep. So the vote came down on that side. So have you thought about this net neutrality and what it may mean to our businesses or the consumer out there?
Absolutely, and like you said, there's going to be so much more, debate and talk, and who knows what's going to come of it, but the fact that everybody's on a level playing field, I mean, of course, I like that option because part of our business, you know, in the past has been to be able to provide connectivity, right?
Right.
We were like the middle tier.
Right.
Right. And now there's going to be free for all, right? If this actually happens, it's going to be free for all. I mean, what's to prevent Joe Schmo from go buy a router, you know, high-speed router,
offer internet
and start
services.
getting into this business,
Yeah.
right? And it speeds and feeds. It doesn't matter, right? And like you said, we're already paying, right? I mean, you think about, we've talked about this, right? You think about your home internet service.
Right.
I mean, if you want the fast, right, 50 meg down, right, you're going to pay more.
You got to pay more. So the consumer pays more. So
Yeah.
this is the part that is driving me a little bit crazy on this net neutrality thing. Is the fact is that, you know, first of all, I don't like government getting involved in things. And then, you know, leaving net neutral and just saying it is neutral, case closed, don't worry about legalizing it, just prevent it from happening. And now they're saying, well, because of the FCC rulings, we'll prevent that from happening. Well, I think it can be self-administrating with the right regulations that are put in place. But no, we're going to create this big bureaucratic monster that's been in the communications oversight business for decades,
Yeah.
and we know what a great job they've done. Obviously, you can tell my opinion. Yeah, but what a great job they've done over the years, and now they're going to oversee net neutrality and ensure that every playing field is level. But it's not. I can go to at least 2 of the carriers, which we have right now, and each of them have a throttling fee. I can pay more for this higher speeds and less for the lower speeds.
Sure.
So they're already doing it to us, the consumer.
Yep.
So why didn't they, you know, my question is, why didn't you focus on that part of it?
Yep.
Where us, the consumer, don't have to be paying
Right.
for what's happening at the carrier level.
Right.
But now what they're saying is, oh no, we'll open it up for more carriers. Now, how easy do you really think it is for new Joe Schmo to come in and put in a wireless network in his own independent wireline network even, or wireless network in Kaka'ako?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it could be pretty easy.
It could be pretty easy, but you've got to get onto the light poles. Well,
Yeah.
guess what?
Yeah.
I worked for the city for so many years. There's a committee called the Pole Committee,
Yeah.
which is made up of state and local agencies. Try to get on a pole.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mean to make it sound, you know, that rudimentary.
Right.
It's tough, but the fact that, you know, the bigger, larger vendors, you know, like Microsoft, Google, I mean, IBM, they're probably going to be for this, right? Because it allows them now to compete equally on the network side without having to increase their costs. I mean,
Right.
with all of them going cloud, I mean, they're banking cloud, right? And
Right.
kind of so, in a sense, I mean, everybody is.
So, you know, so what I'm finding interesting is that and maybe it's just been tainted over the decades.
Yeah.
I'm finding that the older people that are still in tech are not real fond of net neutrality, but your generation is kind of saying, well, you know what, I really think it's going to open up and so on.
And we'll see.
Yeah, and there's going to be lawsuits.
Of course.
Guaranteed to be
So
lost.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But I'll bet you a dinner, if you're willing to bet. I'll bet you a
Absolutely.
dinner that within 1 year, there will be a new tax on the internet.
Okay.
And you'll either pay through it through your cable
Right,
bill
right, yeah,
or
yeah.
your phone bill or your mobile bill. And by the way, have you looked at the taxes on your mobile phone bill? I mean, there's more taxes on that than there is actually the cost of the service itself.
Sure.
So I predict that what's going to happen is that we're going to end up seeing, oh, we need a 13-cent a month tax on your mobile phone,
Right.
on your mobile device,
Right.
because of the administrative costs of the FCC overseeing net neutrality.
I mean, I'll definitely take the bet. Depends on where do you want to go.
Zippy?
I'll bet you.
Okay.
I'll bet. No, so you know, so part of the technologist, right, in me, I'm sure in yourself too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, having the speed and feed on the phone,
Right.
and this on the mobile platforms. I mean, it's gonna just really allow for some cool stuff. to
Right,
happen,
and
right?
true.
But then again, you know, I don't want to pay through my nose,
Right.
for that.
And in my opinion, we're paying through our nose right now for
Already,
some of
sure.
the slowest internet speeds. You know, in the top 10 countries in the world,
Yeah.
we're not. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting beat to death.
Yeah,
in
I mean, you
this.
take Japan, right? I mean, my last trip to Japan, I mean, they had 100 meg, right, to their house, you know, fiber. I mean, the proximity, all
Yeah.
of that, right, matters, but we're slow. I
Yeah.
mean, especially in Hawaii, right, it's been an issue, right? We need to bring high speed.
Totally agree. I mean, my trips to South Korea and seeing what they were doing there, also to Japan, and what's happening there. It's just we are, and guess what? Now we're going to regulate it, and we always know that the moment government gets involved, it gets better and it gets faster. History proves itself. I can go back and recount that at least nonce.
How would you know? I mean, do you have any experience in government?
Touches here and there, just touches there. But so, and that really is, you know, again, I go back to the initial part of the conversation. The intent of the bill is pretty honorable. The execution of the intent is going to be, in my opinion, very suspect. What I found interesting, and I actually just, you know, in looking, I always like to see how different news organizations report, on the bill, or not in the bill, on what happens. So I got New York Times, USA Today, The Guardian, and Reuters, MSNBC, how they all reported on it. You know, they went from as simple as net neutrality will make everybody get faster internet. That was what they said. And then others got into, you know, a new tax and government grab. So you just have to, and I'm not going to say which news agency said what, but it's always fun to go down and see which one comes up. And NPR is always my favorite because they're kind of in the middle. They're kind of in the middle, but they're confusing, but they're in the middle. And I'm a big NPR fan, so NPR, don't sue me. It's actually fun NPR, but it's just how I like to equate it to. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting thing.
Absolutely.
I think I encourage our viewers to go out and Hamish, follow it. You're in Canada, but that's okay. But to follow this and see what's going to happen in this, because it really will have an impact on you. And if you want to keep people out of your pocket, then you better start looking closely at what's going to happen on this. So, what do you think this is going to do to the? What do you think? And I didn't hear from the IBMs or the Oracles or the Microsofts on where they felt this was going to fall down.
So yeah, I don't know what their prediction was, but I know that Google's been pretty vocal about them being one of the in the forefront pushing for this. Right. And Microsoft has been a little public about it, saying this is a great thing, right? And obviously IBM too, because again, because of the cloud offering, it just puts all of them on a neutral playing field. Right. It's going to be about the service. Right? It's not, the connectivity is just going to be something we have. You don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's like turning on the tap or turning on your light when you come home.
Exactly.
And that it was there. I know it's interesting because the ones that were behind it, making sure the throttling wouldn't happen, are like Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, because they don't charge for your Twitter account. I mean, it's free. So anytime there'd be a burden put on them, then it would impact their ability to make a profit. Or the providers like the Googles and the such. So, but then the guys that are sitting on the pipe, the local exchange carriers and all of such, they're the ones that have been sort of against it all because they want to be able to change their revenue streams because how many dial tone phones are there sitting out there?
Right. So I would ask you, like, you look at level 3 or you look at those big bandwidth aggregate, the ones that just aggregate the bandwidth. What is this going to do to them?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Netflix probably worked with them as a provider, right? So what are they going to say? Sorry, we just got to do it for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I live in the condo that I live in. I can always tell when it's between 6:30 and say 8 o'clock. The internet speed drops like this because guess what?
Everybody waking up.
The Netflix. PM. The Netflix. People are watching, coming on and having that happen there. And the number of people watching television is going down. The number of people watching the internet is going up. So advertising on television is going down. Advertising on the internet is going up. So you just got to follow the money.
Yeah, and I wonder about some of the security ramifications too, because now, you mentioned the Internet of Everything or the Internet of Things coming online. I mean, it's going to come online. Right? People are going to start controlling their stove and their microwave and their garage door, via these little devices that they can just plug in, has internet connectivity.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine how that's going to feed into the 40 billion connected devices in the next 3 years.
True, and then Angus's band will tell him he needs to order some milk.
Yeah.
And speaking of ordering some milk, it's time to pay some bills. So we're going to replenish our libations here, take a little short break, and come back in a minute or so. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this conversation. Thank you.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon. And on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Ted Ralston. You know, Ted is the host of Where the Road Leads. It shows every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's about technology. It's about how people collaborate and solve problems with modern technology. It's where the road leads. We all know that. We should all be listening. Join us there, 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday. Now, what about that do you agree with?
All of it.
I knew he'd say that. Aloha. Say aloha.
Aloha.
Good.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to Hibachi Talk. Joining me today is Kelly Ueoka, the newly announced president of, I almost said president and CEO of Pacxa.
Oh my God, I
would
got
have been
promoted
unemployed.
again. I got promoted again.
The new president of Pacxa is joining us today. Andrew's off, gallivanting around the country like he always does. So Kelly, it's been fun talking to you about what's been happening in the industry. And so let me just talk about go back to your career. So how many different companies have you worked for in the tech business, including when you were on the mainland?
Yeah, I mean, probably 6 firms now.
6
I've
firms?
been with, yeah,
You've bounced
including
from-
county, government, utilities, startups. I work for university.
Worked at the university.
Yeah,
So has anyone prevented you from moving from one company to the other company?
No, I mean, they kind of,
I didn't ask if they booted you to
they
the other
tried to
company.
keep me, but
Okay,
it was just always a better opportunity,
right.
moving up the ladder there, and the evolution of tech really helped out. Being a passionate and fan of the technology,
Right.
Always helped me to stay current.
And as a Kauai boy, that's pretty amazing. Not amazing. There's just a lot of smart people
Oh,
coming
no,
out of
you
Kauai.
can
But
say-
it's,
you can
but
say.
it's a small community. It's a small community.
You can say I'm the smartest guy from Kauai if you want. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah, you may be the smartest guy from Kauai.
No, I'm
wait.
definitely not.
No, then America, you'll upset with me. No, cannot. But anyway, so you bounced around to 6. You never had no one really. You went from one, to the next one.
Yeah.
Looking at opportunities. And I can't even begin to think how many I've gone through in the career that I've had. Now, what I find interesting, there's a law in Hawaii on no compete.
Sure.
So you're not, there's a, you sign in some cases, some employers will require you to sign a non-compete. So if you were to leave that company and go start your own company, nope, can't do that. You got to wait a year. You may not be able to bounce over to this company. Nope, cannot. Got to wait a certain period of time. So in Hawaii, there's legislation that has that. Now, I know we as a company do not enforce it, do not look upon it. But there are a number of companies that do. And what's interesting, there's 2 bills down at the legislature right now. House Bill 1090 and Senate Bill 1279 to do away with non-competes for the tech. Now, initially, that bill was, so what do you think of that? What do you think? No competes for tech, just, wipe it off the page.
I'm always thinking about what is the best thing for Hawaii, right? And you look at it at the tech talent in Hawaii. I won't say that it's finite, but it is somewhat limited sometimes, And to have the option, we definitely wouldn't want to hold anybody back, like you're referencing the 6 firms. They do our best. We care, but at the end of the day, we want to empower that person. Right. They're working hard. We work hard. Right? In technology, we work hard.
My standard phrase in technology: anyone without a hernia is not pulling their weight.
Exactly.
That's
look
really
at me,
what
I
it
can
is.
barely walk out of here.
Well, you are saying the right things. And again, we have a firm that we're at 100 strong now, and if any of our employees got recruited away from even any of our clients or whatever, I personally would never get in the way for doing that. It's all about relationships. And I can say right now, in the 30+ years I've been here in Hawaii, and I've never, all of the tech people that I've worked with, worked for, have worked for me, they can move anywhere they want. And we've crossed our paths so many times.
Yeah. So would you say that you've kind of empowered them, you've helped them get a career in technology?
I hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, I would like to say that there's a lot of people out there that are in tech because of opportunities that were given to them.
Yeah.
So So what do you think about the bill? You know, these two bills, House bill and Senate bill, that would do away with it.
I'm
getting you off guard.
I know. I gotta tell you.
For
No, I gotta tell you. I'm okay. I mean, if it allows the tech, you know, if it allows a technologist or somebody in IT engineering to have their option,
yeah.
you know, I'm all for it.
Now, could you imagine? Could you begin to think of any company that would be against something like that?
Around town?
Yeah. There are.
I can think.
Yeah, there's
of
a few.
of
There's
them.
a few big players around town
Sure.
that are not there. So, and what's interesting is that one of the biggest speakers against the bill are the broadcasters, the broadcast industry. So hear that, broadcasters out there. They are really they want the non-competes in there. So
Sure.
the bill's being modified to exempt the broadcasters. Oh, by the way, guess who is already exempt from non-competes?
Who?
Attorneys.
Oh.
So attorneys, this is legislation, and the attorneys have exempted themselves from that particular piece of legislation. So what does that tell you? And I'm not picking on the attorneys, but if an attorney says it's not good for them, then why would it be good for us in the tech industry?
Right. I mean,
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. Yeah. And so I think Pacxa, you know, what we're trying to do, right, is to actually empower them and have them build a career with us.
Yeah.
Right. And no matter which stage of your career you're at, right, we can always improve. I mean, it's continuous improvement. You know, in technology is so radically changing every day that I think, you know, we gotta empower them to have options. I mean, especially for Hawaii.
Especially because then we can get them to come back home. We can get them to stay here because, a non-compete, then I might as well go to California because I don't have to worry about my non-compete in California.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, those kind of things. Yeah, so I'm of the same opinion of you. I think that if the broadcasters want to put the constraints on the broadcasters, that's their call. But let's open up this tech industry. I mean, it is the industry of industries. And we have done a poor job in the past number of years in Hawaii. And I think it's time, this is one of the opportunities to kind of like start chipping away at the things that we've done wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, we did a good thing with Act 221, again, my opinion, obviously others disagree, we did away with it. And so every time we tried to give an opportunity for tech growth in Hawaii, we've put something in the way.
Yep, I agree. And it starts with the talent. You know, it's going to start there. So if we want to attract the talent, right, I think this is a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens as this tries to wind its way through the big square building up the street. And I normally don't get involved in politics, but you know, these are the neutrality, and this is another form of neutrality. Are things that are important. So again, I would encourage you to check these two bills out: House Bill 1090 and Senate Bill 1279, to see how they wind our way through the wonders of the legislature down there. So anyway, so I covered a couple things that we want to cover on that. So let's kind of wrap ourselves around back to where we are now in the industry in cloud.
Well, so real quick, one thing I just wanted to mention about the non-compete is that, you know, nobody likes to be taken advantage of, right? So, sometimes it's always discretionary, right? We have to keep our eyes open, right? But at the same time, I think it does level the playing field, like you said, neutrality. Right. But yeah, again, on the flip side of that, you know, nobody likes to be taken advantage of or stepped, right? So I can keep going, right?
Yeah, and you train them and then you lose them. I mean, one of the arguments is going to be is like, well, I spent all this money training Kelly and now I've lost him.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. Unfortunately, you're going to lose some good people.
Yep, absolutely.
And what we're not going to do, and you've got my word on the air here, we will not go around town poaching talent.
No.
You know, and we're like everybody else out there, is that they're looking for qualified individuals, and the individuals, and I always say that the really good ones aren't looking for jobs. Yeah. Right? You know, the really, really good ones have been established and aren't looking for jobs. But there's a lot of opportunity out there for some that are good but are maybe less in tune to make the move.
Oh, doesn't have the experience, right? I mean, there's a bunch of factors, right? Yeah. I mean, been doing the same thing for years, right? Yeah. But looking to branch out now. I mean, it could be anything, right? The technology could be pushing them to change. I mean, it could be anything. So.
Right. I've seen some they say, like, well, I've got 10 years of experience, but they've been doing the same thing for 10 years.
Exactly.
And you've got 1 year of experience 10 times.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
So, and whereas as we talk, this industry just continues to do this
and evolve.
Massive
evolve.
And so on. So coming back to where we head now with, let's say, where's Microsoft going to go? Let's talk about Microsoft. You know, they've come a long way since
very like
From
extremely
DOS.
long way.
And
From DOS,
3.1,
Bob. You remember Microsoft
Oh,
Bob?
I bought Bob.
Yeah.
I had the sticker on my luggage.
Yeah, so
That was his wife's idea.
recovering from, some of the products that have been out in the past, like Windows 8. I mean, I love Windows 8, but Windows 10 is going to come out pretty soon. The HoloLens. I mean, Microsoft is finally getting cool again. I think from the consumer's perspective, I see a lot of college kids walking around with Surface as opposed to iPad. So they're going to go into this model of devices, services, mobile first, cloud first.
Okay.
And it's already happening. I mean, we're already seeing,
Right.
Pacxa's kind of blazing trails and consulting with customers about that.
So how does that compare? How does that compare to Apple? I mean,
Apple, man. I mean, you take Apple. It's so simple to use, right? And then as a Microsoft, myself, I'm around Microsoft technology all day. But Apple is so easy to use for the consumer. They go home, they plug it in. It's intuitive. It just works, right? But Microsoft has a big leg up in the enterprise, I think. And I don't see that changing anytime soon as far as the client side, as far as the server side. Cloud, they have a strong offering there. Operational software like Office 365, I just see their foothold getting even stronger. Now, the transition will be to this pay-as-you-go model.
Right.
And they're already doing it. So.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I mean, I just and I have it. I have Apple product,
Yeah.
Mac product, I have Microsoft product, and each one has its own value,
Yeah.
and its own capabilities that I thoroughly enjoy. And Microsoft can be interesting when Windows 10 comes out, because now you're going to have a single look, feel on whatever device you got.
On all the devices, and they are definitely making the move to start developing for other platforms.
Right.
So Outlook for mobile, it runs on Android.
Right.
It's already out for iPad in production. Office for iPad, it's wonderful. Office for Android is great.
So it's yeah, I know. I have Office on my MacBook Pro.
Yeah, there you go.
Or my MacBook Air. I mean, I've got it there. It's on that. And then with the cloud, whether it be OneDrive from Microsoft, SharePoint,
Exchange for email.
Yeah.
Right?
Then you got all the other offerings that are out there.
Infrastructure. As a service.
I mean, it comes back to connectivity.
Connectivity.
It's always a challenge to be always on.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It can be on, but not necessarily at
connected. It can be on, but maybe not connected.
Not connected, and not at a cost-effective manner.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You're about to exceed your data limit.
Sure.
So I mean, so those are that's. I think we both agree that's the next sweet spot.
Yeah, and it's getting there, right? So there's options now. Microsoft has partnered with a lot of the providers to say you can have a direct connection into your tenant that's provisioned and no different from a LAN connect. Like you can't tell.
You can't tell.
Yeah,
right?
so
it's on.
It's on. You can connect. Again, latency connectivity is getting better and better and better every day. I think that's where Microsoft is in a favorable position.
Right.
But Amazon has been doing it for a long time.
Right.
Amazon Web Services, I mean, that was one of the first critical mass.
Pennies.
Right? Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 1 cent per hour or something like that. I don't know what it is.
Unbelievably inexpensive amount.
Yep.
And so and we've kind of done a lot of things in the circles here. Net neutrality, which is the next piece, which is we have our opinions on, and we'll see what happens. I'm certainly going to enjoy my Zippy's dinner.
We don't have to go to Zippy's.
Oh, okay.
Let's
scale it up a little bit.
Yeah, let's go. Step it up a little bit.
Okay.
1 year from today?
1 year from today.
All right.
There will be a tax.
Okay.
Okay. Sushi sounds good.
Sushi, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
we've got it.
Okay.
So you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
We have burned another lunch hour. We literally burned through another lunch hour, and everybody sat there and had their libation and hopefully enjoyed the conversation we've had. Kelly, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Buddy. Thank you.
Andrew, watch out, buddy. Your job is in major jeopardy.
Andrew's not replaceable.
Jeopardy. Anyway, by the way, nice shirt.
Nice shirt.
You know how to dress. Thanks. So anyway, again, thanks for joining us here for Hibachi Talk. Thanks to Emily. You're always making me smile, and Zura, you can keep it going like no one else's business. Melanie, hang in there, young lady. The baby will come real soon. Jay, thanks again for this opportunity. Hey, aloha, everybody. How you doing?